Dr. Murray, thank you so much for taking our interview. Well, your book, I have been reading your book for a long time, your books, many books, and your recent book, 2012 book, Coming Apart, it's very influential. And that book actually analyzed you anticipate what happened in the 2016 election. So what we saw is the American working classes rising up, and they are voting for, lots of them are voting for Donald Trump. So my first question is that you talk about cultural divide. Could you elaborate on the political divide of this country?
Well, let's stick with cultural divide because I think the cultural divide is crucial. By that I mean that the United States has developed classes over the last 50 years that are different from the ones we used to have. It used to be the boast of America that we didn't have classes. We had people who had more money and less money, but we were all equal in our dignity and in our human worth and all that. And the people on top in the United States usually tried to follow that. They tried to say, hey, I'm just one of the guys. I grew up on a farm. I grew up the son of a factory worker, and now I'm successful, but I'm still just an ordinary American. That's changed. Now we have a group of people who I call the new upper class, who are very conscious of being an upper class. They have gone to good schools, sometimes elite schools. They make a lot of money. And even if they don't make a lot of money, they live with people who have similar tastes and preferences. And those are the tastes and preferences that go with advanced education. And we now have a group, a working class, which has an element in it that's different. Used to be that the working class, if you were a guy, you had a job, or you were looking for a job. Working was absolutely essential. Now we have a large minority of the white working class, guys who are not working, not looking for work, living off their girlfriends, living off disability. These cultural divisions are new.
The cultural divisions, well, you mentioned in your book, and all the working classes guys, and they could not even afford to get married or stay, well. The other day, one of your colleagues gave a talk on men without work, which is very astonishing. So when you see that, and what kind of impact, psychological or sociological impact, to the guys who are in that position?
Men who are not working don't do very well. And by that I'm not talking economically. I'm talking emotionally and psychologically, because the tradition that men are supposed to work, also the tradition they are supposed to take care of a family, that's very deep. It may even be in our genes. And so when you have men who aren't married, they aren't taking care of their kids, they aren't working, they tend to have a lot more drug problems, they have alcohol problems, they get in trouble with the law. It has been said in the past that marriage civilizes men, which is true, I think, in many ways. Well, work and responsibility also civilize men. And when men have not been civilized, they don't behave well. And so we have a real problem now with a group in the United States, women as well as men are involved in this, who are no longer participating in American society.
You mean not participating, you mean they don't go to church, they don't go to civic duties, and what do they do?
Well, they play video games a lot. They spend a lot of time on alcohol and drugs. They spend a lot of time watching television. It's as simple as that. They live aimless, pointless lives. It's not like women without jobs. I mean, without formal jobs that they go to work at. The long history of the United States and elsewhere of women who are very, very busy all day, every day, not just raising the children, but being involved in the local schools, being involved in their churches, engaged in all sorts of charitable activities. They're really, really busy. They're building social capital. They may not have a formal job, but they're working very hard. Men do not have that same tradition. Men have a tradition of having a real job. You work 40 hours a week or more, and that defines what they're supposed to do.
You mean they lost their dignity and the purpose of living?
I think that men have lost both their dignity and their sense of purpose. They are demoralized. Consider this. If it's 1960 and you are a male and you're holding down a job, you're working at a factory, you're supporting your family, you've got 3 children, you're supporting them, you have a position in your community. You are respected, you are looked up to by the other people in that community. You are one of the good guys, and you are recognized for that. And you can also say to yourself, if it weren't for me, my wife and children would be hungry, they would be without shelter. I'm a big deal in their lives. Now consider today. The man has fathered a couple of children, let's say, but he has not married the woman, because a lot of times these days you don't get married. The woman has a job, and she makes even more money than the guy does, even though he has a job. These days, being a married father no longer has any prestige. So if the job is a boring job you don't like, and it doesn't pay very much money, what do you say to yourself? You no longer can say, but I'm taking care of my wife and kids, and they'd be in trouble without me. You can't say that. You can't really say you've been a success at much of anything. That's a huge change over the course of 50, 60 years.